Good morning. It really gives me a great deal of pleasure to open this session this morning. And at first, I'd like to acknowledge some of the elected officials that have joined us and people from Van City, which is one of our partners in this enterprise. With us today is Michael Evison, councillor for the District of West Vancouver, Bruce Richter, the risk manager for Van City Savings Credit Union, Bryn Sadwick, project leader, Van City Community Foundation, and Myra Tivan, community associate for Van City. So thank you for joining us this morning. The fresh juices this morning have also been provided by another partner in this enterprise, Happy Planet. So enjoy your juices. This morning we've got three very distinguished presenters in the topic From Farm to Table, Local Food Challenges and Opportunities. And I want to tell you just a little bit about this issue. A couple of years ago, we passed a motion at Metro Vancouver to bring in a food security program for the region as part of our regional planning process. And as it turns out, with the many seminars that we've had, this has become one of the overriding issues. And it's been an amazing response in terms of the role the community has put on the need for food security and agriculture in the region. In 2008, the food strategy was started. The draft was adopted on September the 24th. And it's a process where we're encouraging local production, processing, and distribution of food that is more healthy and more nutritious. And I think you'll find that the speakers today fit into that category very well. The decision was based on three factors: tremendous public interest, secondly, Metro Vancouver's growth strategy to preserve agricultural land, and third, the zero waste strategy to address food waste and packaging and composting and these sorts of things. I'm not sure we haven't quite figured out what we're going to do with the packaging yet, but we're working on the composting right now. The strategy will be the first step towards creating a sustainable, resilient, and healthy food system that enhances economic prosperity for the region, conserves our natural ecosystems, and improves the public health for all residents. I'm pleased to introduce the presenters today: Anne Rowan, Suzanne Fielden, and Chris Bodner. Anne Rowan is the Senior Policy Analyst for Metro Vancouver, and she assesses the corporate and regional progress towards sustainability and contributes to the development of the food, agriculture, and environmental policy, and she's played a major role in developing the draft food policy for Metro Vancouver. Before joining Metro Vancouver in 2008, Anne worked for 10 years at the David Suzuki Foundation, and she was instrumental in drafting a booklet called Forever Farmland: Reshaping the Agricultural Land Reserve for the 21st Century. Suzanne Fielden is a co-founder of Rocky Mountain Flatbread Company, and along with her husband, they brainstormed how they could create a business based on values that they were passionate about: food, family, community, and ecology. Today, their restaurants offer a healthy, conscious alternative to typical pizza eateries. Relationships with farmers and partnerships with community organizations, suppliers, and schools are key to their business, and they work to create a sustainable food system. Chris Bodner, in 2008, defended his PhD in communications at Carleton University, but decided instead to work on a more sustainable career in agriculture. He looked into other work and determined that he wanted to get involved assisting the local food-related organizations, and he started farming at Glen Valley Organic Farm in Abbotsford 4 years ago. It's a 50-acre co-op farm, certified organic, and it sells produce at 7 farmers markets, as well as through a community-supported agriculture box program, or CSA. And they have direct sales to 2 restaurants. So that's our panel for this morning. I think very well placed to talk about the issues that face this region. So welcome, Anne, Suzanne, and Chris, and let's have the discussion begin. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harold. So let me just kind of go through what the strategy, as Harold pointed out, this is 2 years in the making. We got lots of input from the public, from experts in the area, as well as people in the business sector, farmers, of course, the public health authorities, and a lot of NGOs. So there's lots of fingerprints on our draft strategy, and we're really happy about that. And what we did is we took a food systems approach when we developed this strategy. And in other words, we wanted to look at the whole system, not just one component. As the London group that's working on their food strategy puts it, we looked from growing to throwing. So we're looking at all the steps in the process that keep us fed, as well as what we do with food waste at the end. Of course, there's other influencers in the system as well. There's governments, there's advertisers, so we wanted to look at the whole range of things that influence how we keep ourselves fed. And of course, we're looking at the regional food system, but we know the regional food system is actually hooked into the global system, right? There's many farmers that are doing quite well actually exporting products into the global market. And we knew, of course, that we're quite dependent on imported foods as well. So we're looking at how do we build the local component, but realizing that we are part of a global system, and that's not something that will be readily changed. Really important, though, is there's lots of great initiatives already taking place in this region. You're going to hear from two really important speakers right after me about work that's already being done, just as an example of kind of the enthusiasm and energy and creativity that's coming to, address some of these issues. So we're building on existing work. That is, we know we're not the first one on the block, and that's good. What we're trying to do is help focus, though, and actually provide a basis for better collaboration so that we're all working toward the same end. We're hoping to increase awareness about how the food system works and what are some of the issues that we need to be concerned about. So through the consultation and input we've been receiving, there's some real common themes. I mean, one of the strongest one is most people in this region are still very concerned about protecting farmland. They realize that it's a really valuable asset, and the ALR is important, but it may not be working well enough. We may need to do other things in order to protect farmland. Connected to that, though, we've heard that if farmers aren't viable, if they can't make a living, we could protect all the farmland we want. It's not going to be used, though, for producing farm products. So we need to look at how do we make farming more viable. Also, I mean, we all eat, but we're not necessarily getting healthier from what we eat. So we need to begin to address that issue. Like how do we improve our health? How do we reduce some of the incidence of diabetes, obesity, those kind of things associated with food. How do we encourage people to eat healthier, particularly children, right? Like, get good habits started early. In this region, we've also heard that it's very hard for some people to eat well at all, right? Like, if they're trying to cover housing costs, particularly on low incomes or fixed incomes, it can be very, very challenging. So that's a big issue. We need to address access to food as well. And of course, not last but not least, is if we don't protect the health of our natural systems, then we undermine our ability to produce food in the future. So we need to look at the ecological health issues. So those are some of the things that we heard people all share some concern about, and we needed to address in a strategy. So a strategy always has to have a vision, and here's the vision we developed: a sustainable, resilient, and healthy food system that enhances the economic prosperity of the region, conserves natural systems, while improving the health of all residents. So it's a big vision, and that's why we've all got to work together on it. So the first goal talks about inputs into producing food. Now, one thing quite different about our food strategy, when we look around other areas where they're looking at developing local or regional food system strategies, is they only look at agriculture. This region has a long history of food from aquatic systems, right? Salmon and other seafoods. So we actually did want to incorporate that into how do we develop a sustainable food system. So not only do we need to protect land, but we also need to look at access to water. We need to look at access for labor. The factors affecting salmon populations are really complex in most seafoods, right? I mean, because we're talking about an aquatic environment. But within the region, we can do much more to protect salmon habitat. We want to increase commercial food production, but also look at how much more food could be produced within the cities. We know that urban agriculture not only increases access to fresh foods for many urban residents, but it's a great way to build communities. And one thing we heard clearly is we need to get younger farmers onto the land. So that's goal 1. Goal 2 talks directly to that issue of how do you make farming more viable? Well, when we started talking to farmers and others involved in the system, is it's building the local food system. That is, we need to build more local capacity to process foods, more local capacity to store foods, and to distribute foods. So it's actually building the whole system will actually help farmers. Local producers are more likely to spend their money locally, that is for buying the goods and services they need, as well as the labor they need, right? So we all benefit from what's called the multiplier effect. More money spent locally generates more jobs locally, it generates more income. So there's an economic benefit to all of us if we actually build the local component of the food system. So the ways to help farmers and to help build that system is to change institutional, that is, government purchasing policies around buying food. The health authority buys a lot of food, the school board buys a lot of food, a lot of local governments buy food for various things. Increase opportunities for direct marketing, that's talking about farmers markets, community service or community supported agriculture. And basically just expanding the ways in people experience local foods. That's probably the best way to get people to eat more local foods, is to just get out and try local foods. If the first 2 goals talked about, if you will, as an economist, the supply of food, the third one talks about us as consumers, the demand for food. How do we encourage people to eat healthier, to make healthier choices? There's lots of different programs the health authority has and other school board has in terms of encouraging healthy foods. How do we support those activities? As well as, we know there's a lot more energy and interest in how do you make sustainable food choices. A lot of that has to do with fish, but we know that that can be expanded to other foods. Goal 4 is about the social justice element. Like, how do we ensure that all members of the region have access to food? We don't want a food strategy that speaks just to the middle class and richer of the region, but also to vulnerable groups, particularly on low incomes. Goal 5, again, gets back to protecting those natural systems. Our food is, obviously, farmers are very important in the production of food, but they rely on a lot of natural systems to produce those foods. The soils, water, pollinators. So we need to protect those natural systems. We need to facilitate the adoption of environmentally sound practices. And we know that we're already beginning to feel the impacts of climate change, and so we need to do more work on how do we prepare. For Metro Vancouver, another really important component, and for all of us, is how do we reduce waste? And food waste and food packaging is a significant portion of the waste stream in this region, so it's a really important thing for us to consider in the food strategy. So that's kind of an quick overview of what the strategy tries to encompass. So where are we in the process? Again, we started about 2 years ago, and now we've got the draft regional food system strategy, and we're into public consultation. So that's why I encourage you to pick up a copy of the draft, read it, and give us your feedback, because we're interested in revising it based on what people are saying and what they're concerned about. So we'll develop the strategy. The strategy here is basically just a framework, and then what we'll do is move into the next phase of the work, which is to develop a focused action plan, some really important things that need to be done now. What are some of the gaps that need to be filled? So again, we're building on existing pieces. One of the things you'll see in the strategy is we try to include just a lot of the on-the-ground projects that people are already working on. The appendix is supposed to be a living document, so we can keep adding things that people are working on, as well as the dreams and ideas that people have of what we can do in the future. But then what we want to do is focus on what are some of the first things we need to do. We all have a piece of the puzzle, And so a collaboration is going to be essential for making this a success. So thank you.
My name is Suzanne from Rocky Mountain Flatbread. I don't know how many people know of Rocky Mountain Flatbread, so I don't want to totally repeat myself. There's quite a few people. Hooray! We are a family pizza restaurant, and we started in Canmore, Alberta, so we really are from the Rocky Mountains, 7 years ago. My husband and I opened up, and we actually moved from England with our family. We had one little one at that point, but we now have 3. And we really wanted to build a brand of significance that really stood for positive social and environmental change. And one of the best ways we thought to do that was to choose something that people interacted with on a weekly basis. And we knew that pizza was something that has become renowned for being quite unhealthy and not really supporting local farmers. So we decided that pizza needed reinventing. So we partnered with some of the best chefs, and we started to partner with farmers, and we really looked to create a healthy pizza which actually tasted delicious. We really do have a grave concern for the environment and climate change, and really what that is going to do to our children's lifetime, and we're probably going to witness a lot, and their children's. And we really are passionate about developing a healthy, local, sustainable food system, which so is not in place at the moment, especially in Canada, where it is a lot more challenging, because where we come from in Britain, there's a lot more local organic farms because it's so much of a smaller country for starters, so you can get stuff to market and you can get stuff to places a lot quicker. So Rocky Mountain Flatbread, we actually have 3 organizations in one, and they all started on the same day when we opened 7 years ago. So we're a family restaurant. We're based in Canmore. We're based in Kitts. We're also a wholesale business. So when we're quiet in our restaurant, we actually produce for about 300 stores across Western Canada. And when we produce locally in Canmore for our Alberta stores, and then here in Vancouver, right in our restaurant, for like Whole Foods, Capers, Choices, Stongs. We're now on Save On. And we're also an education society, and we touch probably about 1,000 students a year with the support of sponsors like Van City. And we actually go into local schools, and we actually work with students for about 8 weeks, sometimes even a year. And we teach them how to grow their own food and help them build food beds. And we actually bring in nutritionalists and teach them how to cook healthy breakfasts, lunches, snacks. And we also help them build their own eco-businesses, which is really fun. And they'll do anything from like take old bike tires and turn them into dog collars. They'll take old coconut bins and turn them into rain barrels. So we kind of try and teach them some entrepreneurship skills. All of our restaurants I think pretty much our supply chain is carbon neutral now. And we do that through buying green electricity from Bullfrog Power, through small innovations in our own restaurants, like we compost everything, recycle everything. We have a zero waste integrated menu. We use lots of local and organic produce from local biodynamic farms, including our eggs, our milk, our meats, our flours, our greens. So we really try and take it to the nth degree. Our juices. We really are committed to zero waste. Like I said, we have an integrated menu, which is super important, because I don't know if you know, restaurants are incredibly wasteful. And just from a menu point of view, they throw out so much food. So when we even designed our menu, we looked at how could we have minimal wastage of food, which was really important, has really helped us. And also all our beers and wines are locally sourced, so they're BC-based, and in Alberta, they're more Alberta-based. We are a no-GMO restaurant, and we've probably now worked with about 5,000 students across in Alberta and BC. And we really focus on creating local partnerships that have really helped us on our journey to sustainability. So we've partnered with Green Tables, Oceanwise, local farmers, a lot of community gardens, which has just been fantastic. So some of our key partnerships that have really helped us connect and educate us with regards to local food systems is, I can't sing enough praises, and if you haven't connected with them, you should do, is Farm Folk City Folk. They're amazing support to our local farmers, but they're wonderful at educating us. They have been wonderful at educating us, and they're wonderful at educating the public in local sustainable food system. And they really support local farmers, and they connect local people and restaurants to the local farmers, which is so important. Oceanwise, too, I can't speak my praises enough to them. With a skeleton team, they have rolled out a sustainable Oceanwise program, which really helps the restaurants and the public know month by month what seafood is sustainable and when it can be purchased and where it can be purchased. And they're really encouraging the farmers to get into more sustainable fishery practices, which is amazing. Green tables too, they're really great. They really come into the restaurants and they showed us from like putting low pressure taps on our taps and just like basic things we can do to be more green. And also partnerships with local suppliers has been key. People like Anita's Flour, because we obviously use a lot of flour, have been amazing at really helping us connect more with people. Things that we've done recently, this summer, we've actually partnered with Kitsilano Farms. Craig's another amazing guy. And we have 2 bins coming in every week from Craig, which allowed us to do a lot of our specials. So we've actually designed our menus so that we have a lot of daily specials and we can use a lot of seasonal stuff. Also, we partner with BioVia, which is a really forward-thinking supplier. And they truly do partner with people like Chris. And they're bringing the produce in from local farmers, and they're paying great prices, and they're making it a lot more convenient for farmers to get their produce to them, and getting it to restaurants like us, which is an amazing job. Local school gardens, so we've harvested from 2 school gardens this summer, which has been wonderful, and the kids have helped us do that, which is great, including the kids at KidSafe on Grandview Elementary School, which was wonderful getting them involved in school gardens. We also partner with local community gardens. World in a Garden up in Kerrisdale is our big partnership garden, and they've grown our squashes and our berries and our tomatoes, and they just basically bring in anything they can every week, which is wonderful. And then Organic World have been really great with regards to getting us local, organic, free-range chickens and meats. Meats are more from Saskatchewan and Alberta, so they're not as local, but they're really great at doing that for us at reasonable prices. Some of the challenges we found. The price point. For us, we're not a high-end restaurant. So we are providing organic pizzas. We try and price point ourselves so we're always below Boston Pizza. So price point is a big challenge for us. The other thing is farmers are so busy and chefs are so busy. So trying to get them together is a challenge. So there needs to be, like, if there were some more brokers to help us do that, that would be wonderful. Local food processing plants, I've heard on the grapevine that we used to have a lot of food processing plants, but they have been moved to the States many years ago. So I think that's a really important place that we need to, like for our tomatoes at the moment, we bring them in from the States. So anything that's processed, even our salads, I know they go over the States, are processed, and then come back over the border. So it would be wonderful to get stuff more back here. Also, we need more wonderful suppliers such as BioVia that are truly committed to the farmer and to getting local produce into our hands. Government subsidies also would be wonderful, I think, for BC farmers. There's a lot of it happening in England and has been forever that makes it affordable for farmers to farm, and they actually can rent farm at reasonable prices from the government, which I think is really needed over here. And also rolling this program out to Canmore is super tough. because it's out in the mountains and the growing season's about 2 or 3 months. We're really great on there, more on the meat, but it is more challenging partnering with local farmers over there. So how are we doing? We are doing better every year as a restaurant with regards to sourcing local. This year we estimate 80 to 95% of our produce was local from June through to September. And I exclude cheese on this because cheese is extremely expensive in BC. I don't know why, but we buy our cheese from Quebec. It's half the price. So I don't know if that's subsidy reasons or what it is. We do buy our specialty cheeses from Salt Spring and things, but our main mozzarella and goat's cheese are from Quebec. So, and in winter months are more challenging. We do drop to below about 50%. And just closing remarks I'd like to say is working with local farmers, I believe, is some of the most important work of our time. We cannot live without healthy food, which nourishes us. And we're getting to the point, like Anne said, where our general health in the population is considered to be decreasing because we're not getting good local food. It's just traveling too far, it's being picked too early. And I really think this end quote really says it all. You should choose your farmer with the same care you choose your pastor, your lawyer, your doctor, or any other professional. So thank you very much.
Email us your comments regarding this topic at sustainableregion@metrovancouver.org or call 604-436-6794.